very excited to be here because writing a resume is one of my favorite topics because so many people don't take the time actually to write a good resume. They are given advice from lots of people who tell them to do one thing and do another thing, and I'm going to tell you that writing a resume is not very difficult, but it is something that you should invest a considerable amount of time in, okay? Don't just put some words on a piece of paper and make it seem like your application. And the topic that we're going to talk about really today is your 30-second commercial. That's what your resume is. It's not your application. It's not the device that's going to get you a job. It's a device that's going to get you an interview. So bottom line is, think about when you're writing your resume, what can you tell the employer about yourself that's going to want them to interview you? So what is going to make them want to ask you more questions? What is going to get them excited about you and what you can bring to the company? So that's basically what we're going to be doing. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to have my agenda today is really, I'm going to do an introduction into a 30-second impression, and that's how long an HR person or recruiter takes to screen in and out your resume. So if your resume is getting in the garbage, it's because that's the amount of time that they can devote to determining whether or not they want to ask you more questions. Let me go back here. We're going to talk about guidelines to writing a great resume, what to avoid, what don't you put on there, because that's a very valuable landscape, so to speak. That piece of paper that you send, there's no interaction, there's no two-way dialogue. I can't ask a resume a question. It's one dimension. And all of you are three-dimensional, right? There's so much more than what you can put on a piece of paper. We'll talk about the important rules of web-based job searching and putting it all together. So how do you get that resume? Just like when you go for an interview, the rule of 30, basically, is the first 30 feet of your entrance is very important. So how you hold yourself in that first 30 feet of your entrance. The first 30 seconds of your interview, what do you say? How do you smile? How do you look? And then the first 30 words you speak in your interview or phone call. Those are very critical. And the same rule applies to your resume. Basically, that recruiter is going to take that piece of paper and they're going to scan it to see if they can find what they're looking for. They're not going to look in depth in it. They're not going to read a ton of writing. If there's too much information or it's unclear about what type of position you're looking for, it's going to go to the side. And they're going to get to it when they have time. And unfortunately, that time is probably going to be never. So I have a sample bad resume that I've listed up here. And this is an actual resume. I just took off the name, address, and email of the person. They did not list the phone number or a way to contact them except for their email. There also are many spelling errors in this resume. And this doesn't really tell me anything about that person or what they're looking for. Their work history is diverse, but they could have put a little bit more information and time into this resume. This was somebody who said, okay, I need a resume for a job. I'm going to get that information in a very short snapshot. Probably going to use a resume template that we can find on Word, and then I'm just going to plug in some information. So how do you get your 30-second commercial, that marketing piece that's going to basically scream out to that employer, why should I talk to you? It's got to be focused. Identify the job that you're seeking. So if you are seeking a job as a CNA or an RN or something in a medical related field, you want to put that on there. Because 9 times out of 10, your education will say that, but maybe your experience doesn't correspond to what that job that you're looking for. Keyword. Keywords are really important in today's marketplace. Companies are using keyword searches and searching your resume on places like the Job Center, the Department of Workforce Development, their job site, Career Builder, Monster. Companies can go out and they can pay to search your resume. So you want to put in specific keywords related to your field. If you're in a quality related field, you're going to want to put quality and supply chain and using some of the software programs that you would use that would be related to that job. Also put down what makes you unique. What kind of skills or experience are going to bring to the table. think about things that you have done. Are you great at customer service and have customer service experience, but have come here to LTC to get some more technical knowledge, and now you have that knowledge? Put those on there, because not only do you have the skills, but you can have something else that every company needs today. Don't put in hobbies or things that you're interested in. Doesn't matter. I want to know what you can do for me as a company. Put specific achievements. Numbers are great. If you have numbers on things that you've accomplished, put them on there. Numbers draw the eye. So the HR professional, when they see that, they are going to be drawn to those numbers. It'll make them focus in a little bit more on your resume. Make sure that you put promotions and awards as well. Companies want successful people. Use your resume to get the interview. Don't try to get the job. That's the really key thing. Don't put down every single thing that you've done. Make it clear and concise. Read it, even time yourself, read it out loud and see if it takes more than 30 seconds to read your resume. Use bulleted sentences. Resumes, again, get read quickly. Don't put in paragraphs. I don't want your job description from your last job. That's not what's important to me. Use action words. They add life to a resume. Things that you've done, that you've brought to the table. Very important. And lead with strength. Put your strengths as an employee first. Companies want loyal, dedicated employees who are willing to learn, change, and adapt with time. So if you have any strength in certain areas, you want to put that at the top so that that's what the employer reads first. And use buzzwords about your industry. Now, I'm not an expert in all of your industries, but I'm sure that you have some things that are specific towards your program here at LTC. So show that you're competent in that field and that you have that education and that background. So make sure to use those buzzwords. Always be positive in your resume. It's extremely important to be positive. Don't list anything negative about your supervisor, about your job, about the company. If it's irrelevant and you don't think it matters, leave it off. Show what you know. So show how you've learned, how you've grown. Whether you've had a lot of jobs or just one job, show how you've learned and grown in that position. Even if you've, let's say, worked at a fast food restaurant and that's all the experience that you have, there's the ability to grow and to learn in that position. In a retail job, in a factory job, there's always opportunity to show that growth. Show who you know. If you report to somebody important at that position, say so. Construct your resume that is easy to read. Forget about the fancy graphics. Use Arial or Times New Roman font, but forget about those fancy graphics. It's not going to get you known. Don't put your picture on your resume. I know you're all beautiful and you're good to look at, but really it doesn't matter to me. It's not important. And some people do that, believe it or not. Have somebody else review your resume. Extremely important. You think you've read it. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. I got married last year. I had 8 people read my wedding invitation. I spelled my own last name wrong. Nobody caught it. Okay? Make sure to have somebody read your resume. Also use Word spell check. It's really easy today, and you think that that's common sense. I review hundreds of resumes a week. I can't tell you. I probably can list them in my hand, the ones that don't have a spelling error. And some of those things are things like the use of there, T-H-E-I-R, and T-H-E-R-E. Spell check isn't going to catch that, but make sure you use your spell check. And submit your resume to potential employers. What to avoid? Your personal information. Don't put anything personal about you down on your resume. It's irrelevant to me as an employer, and it takes up that valuable landscape on your resume. If you're unclear about the position that you're looking for, that's also, I don't want to spend the time to try and figure out what are your goals, what do you want to do, where do you want to work. Make sure to put your name, address, and phone number on there. If I can't contact you, you're not going to hear from me, right? Any reference or hobbies, or any reference to children, marital status, or religion, not necessary. A lot of old school thinking, you put down that you're married because that's more stable. Do not put that on your resume. It is irrelevant. Dates. Don't put down, I graduated from high school in 1973, or I graduated from high school in 2007. Doesn't matter. You graduated from high school. That's what's important, okay? GPA, unless you're a recent college graduate and you don't have a lot of skills and experience to back it up, and if you don't have higher than a 3.0 grade point average, don't put it on your resume. Again, it's not important. If you graduated, that's what's important. References available upon request. That is a given. If I'm going to have you come for a job, if you don't have references, I'm not going to hire you. So that's another, takes up space on your resume. Every job that you've ever held, make sure that it's relevant to the position that you're looking for. So you may have a couple of different copies of your resume that you have on hand. Make them specific to that employer and to that position. And then again, that fancy font. When we import your resume into a software program, we're not going to be able to do that with the fancy font. It's not going to read it. Arial Times New Roman. Forget about the fancy font. Forget about graphics. It's going to mess up the process. And if you do go in for an interview, forget about the expensive paper. Use plain recycled copy paper. You don't need it. It's not necessary. It's a waste of money. Web-based searching, those keywords, that's how we find you. You don't always find us, right? We find you. Companies are not always advertising on the big websites or in the paper. If you notice that the job site papers got a lot smaller, what you can do is you can actually go to a company's website and see a lot of times what positions they're hiring for, and you won't find them anyplace else because they have such a great presence. When you send your resume, don't send it like you would a text message. Capitalize your letters. That should be capitalized. End your sentences with punctuation. Do not go, hi, lowercase hi, looking for a job. Why would I not do that? Because that's not professional. It shows me that you're not really interested in what I have to offer, and you're kind of wasting the professional that's doing the recruiting their time, because it's important. And you will stand out because so many people don't do that. They will just send the resume with no information, all lowercase letters. Looks very unprofessional. Do edit your resume appropriate to the job posting. And don't use funky email addresses. I would assume that most of you have an LTC email address with your name. Use that. If you, crazypartygirl99@yahoo.com, that's gonna have me make a first impression of you, and I've never met you. You could be the most important person in the world. You could be great for my company, but I'm not gonna know that because my impression is gonna be, this person likes to party. They might not show up all the time. Follow the instructions on the posting to a T. Make sure that you do what they're asking you to do. A lot of times, that's how they weed you out. People that are going to follow directions. I want somebody that's going to follow directions. And don't send an attachment as a resume unless you're asked for it. I put in your PowerPoint some popular sites to watch for different job opportunities in your fields. You also want to check the company sites like I'd mentioned before, your professional networking sites such as LinkedIn, and network with everyone you know. Everyone you know knows somebody else, so network with friends, relatives, and then recruiters like Seek. Companies like our organization can help you get your foot in the door where somebody else may have not given you that opportunity. So always follow up after you send a resume. It's not a bad thing. I can't tell you how many times somebody sent me a resume. Things get busy. Life is crazy. We're all doing lots of jobs. And if that person followed up, I might take a second look at their resume. But don't be harassing. And then don't give up hope if you are looking for a job and haven't found one yet. There are lots of jobs out there, and what you're doing by being here at LTC and updating your skills is crucial. There is such a deficit of quality, skilled, educated workers in the different field of programs that LTC has here, you've already put yourself ahead of the class by being in this class today and also by getting your education. So that's what I have. So if you want to visit ccareers.com for any of our job opportunities, and then I'd be happy to stay for any questions. Thank you.